December's full moon is fully agitating. It is a full moon in Gemini. It is sitting right next to Mars retrograde, like right next to it. So full moons illuminate something, right? They pull focus on something. They magnify something. And this one is magnifying the message that Mars retrograde has been making loud and clear, both in our personal lives and in the collective. This is the Astrology of the Week Ahead podcast, and I'm your host, Chani Nicholas. Okay, y'all, it's a full moon week. You know what that means. Things are going to get big. There's going to be a lot of boasting happening. It's a full moon in Gemini. Full moons in Gemini are kind of chaotic. Why? Because Gemini is a sign that is all about the options being opened, and it is all about multiplicity. It is all about everything at once. It's windy. It's airy. There's a lot of conversations going on. And because it's sitting right next to Mars, this full moon feels especially active. And again, it feels heated. And because it's in Gemini, that heat is expressed through our words. So it's a really good full moon to remember that what you say and how you say it matters. It makes an impact. And that's the thing about not understanding our power. If we're going to talk about Mars retrograde, Mars retrograde is about a lot of different things. It's not just about our power and our agency. But I do think it brings up a lot of points about that. Knowing our power is actually one way that we can learn to take care of each other. It is actually a tool, I think, for communal well-being. If I know my power and I show up in a community situation or like a friend group or anywhere, then I'm also going to inspire you to know your power, right? Like I'm going to impact you in that way. So that's like one way that this is important. But it's also really important because if I know my power, if I know my impact, or like at least to the degree that I can, I'm much more likely to take accountability for my actions. And I'm not talking about like egomania. I'm not talking about people that have a grandiose idea about themselves. That's different. If I know my power in a way that helps me to understand my impact, then I'm much less likely to do harm, or when I do harm, or when I cause disruption, or, do something that I'm not proud of, it helps me to be like, okay, if that was the impact of my action, then I also know that I have the ability to do repair work when and where possible. So if I know my power, I'm much more likely to hold it with some kind of responsibility. And if I know my power, it's not just that I can do less harm, hopefully, but if I know my power, I can also use it in the world to be generative, to create the change that I most want to know and see. So this moon pulls focus on all of that and then some. And then, of course, it's also going to bring arguments and quarrels and sentiments that are challenging to the surface. If that is the lesson that we need to learn, you might notice a little bit more of a heated discussion happening publicly about a couple of different things. It might be a time where we really understand how much harm words can do, statements can do, and it might be a time where it feels like we're just flooded with a lot of information from a lot of different sources. So it's a little bit of a whirlwind. Again, because Gemini is an air sign and it's a mutable sign, it does feel like the winds are stirring and there's a lot getting blown about. So stay grounded, stay hydrated, stay rooted to what keeps you honest. This full moon is happening on Wednesday, December 7th at 8:08 p.m. Pacific time. So for folks in later time zones, that'll actually be on December 8th. But again, the moon and Mars are so close together that it does feel like there will be an illumination of possibly disagreements and, again, issues that help you to reconnect with and take serious your agency and your power and your ability to move in a certain direction, given your, understanding of things and your decisions. There'll probably, again, be a lot of conversations. There's a lot of talk happening around this time. Now, this full moon is happening midweek, so it does make for a week where we might feel the full extent of a hump day. We might feel the full extent of our exhaustion by the middle of the week. We might want to take the next day off. However, there is a gorgeous salve that is coming. And this full moon is sandwiched between two gorgeous aspects, one more so than the other. The really lovely thing that happens this week happens on Friday, and that happens after the, I was going to say eclipse, full moon that might feel a little bit like an eclipse because it's highlighting the other really challenging astrological moment of the end of 2022. But again, there's something really lovely. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. And there's something really lovely that happens before the full moon as well. So on Monday, December 5th, Mercury makes a square to Jupiter. Now, Mercury right now is in Sagittarius. That's Jupiter's sign. Jupiter is still in Pisces, the other sign that it rules. So this feels like big, bold, bright ideas and sentiments and conversations. So it can be a really hopeful, inspiring exchange that we have on Monday. Then Mercury moves into Capricorn on Tuesday. It's going to be there for a long time because that's where it's going to go retrograde. Not until December 29th, though. So we'll put a pin in that and we'll talk about it more in a minute. Not this episode, but in the next couple weeks. Just know that the area of your chart that contains Capricorn is going to get a major overhaul and review coming the end of the year, beginning of next year. And then the full moon happens on Wednesday. And then on Friday, this is where it gets really good. On Friday, Venus, planet of love and connection and sweetness and beauty, is also in Sagittarius, and it makes a square to Jupiter as well. So Venus and Jupiter connections are super sweet, even if they are a little friction based, like a square. And this one is about a maximum experience of pleasure and adventure. Venus and Mercury, when they do this square with Jupiter, are in Sagittarius, and Sag is the explorer. Sag is the one that wants to go out and ramble and find the best time possible. And Venus is here to help us do that, to help us pleasure seek, and gets amped up by Jupiter. And so the seeking for pleasure is quite big on Friday. Friday just so happens to also be Venus's day. So this is kind of extra good. Again, it's a good day to go out of office early. Then Venus goes into Capricorn right after that, also on Friday. And the Capricorn part of your chart gets a double feature with Mercury and then Venus. Venus in Capricorn loves structure, is a boundary queen, loves to understand the rules, the regulations about relationships, pleasure, beauty, love, art, sex, etc. So this is a good time to understand the structural nature of your desires and how to appease them. Okay, y'all, that is the rundown of the week. There's a full moon that is fully charged midweek, and sandwiching in that is some really lovely, helpful astrology that gives us some boost and reminds us to enjoy what we can when we can. Thank y'all so much for leaving reviews in the App Store. I wanted to share one with you called The Greatest Joy to Dollar Ratio I've Spent. Love that title. The insights, guidance, assurance, and camaraderie that I gain from being a Chani user has been invaluable in helping me develop my self-awareness and awareness of what is within and out of my control, which enables me to engage with the world to the fullest extent possible without burning out. No matter what happens, I'll have Chani. This app is the greatest joy to dollar ratio I've ever spent, and I am eternally grateful to Chani and the team for producing this content. So, as always, in the Chani app, there is a full moon ritual. There is a guided meditation for the full moon. There are journal prompts for the full moon, and there are also altar suggestions if you want to work with this energy. I'm sending you lots of love, many, many, many blessings. Bye for now.